Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about raising your rate of pay. Okay, so this is number 45. So we've been doing this for over 2 months now. It's like March 10th. So, we've been doing this 2 months and 10 days, excluding the weekend, so doing the daily video. So I hope you guys aren't getting tired of me yet. If we need to, we'll cut back to 3 days a week or 1 day a week. But so far, I've been able to come up with topics for each day, so not bad, right? So today I want to talk about raising your rate of pay. For those of you who are working with clients or with if you're contracting or if you're employees, how can you actually raise the amount of money that you get paid? And this is my opinion based on my experience. So when I was a contractor working in London, I was actually paid really well. It was usually between, depending on the place, between 400 and 500 pounds a day as a day rate, which was really good pay. And it was really hard to leave that kind of pay, especially if you want to, you leave that rate of pay because you want more freedom, and you go to something where you make $2 or $3 a go by selling apps. But that's the lifestyle. You give up security for freedom. But when I was doing that, I was actually pretty well paid compared to others. I know there were others who were paid more than I was, but one of the reasons why I thought I was paid really well was because I was able to deal with ambiguous requirements. And this is one of the things when you're talking to different developers, you have some that need to be told exactly what to do, or they need a set amount of requirements, or they say nobody ever tells me anything, or I don't have enough information. And then you have the other ones who say, they just get the bullet points and say, okay, I know what you're talking about, and they go off and do it. Right? And I was more of the latter kind of person, where you sit down with somebody and they would give you some really, really vague requirements, and you sit there and you listen and you try to understand what they're saying, and in your mind you're rewriting code over and over again. You say, okay, all right, okay, we'll have this. No, something different, whatever. So in doing that is the ability to do that, to be able to accept really vague requirements is something that really helps your rate of pay. I mean, I've talked to a lot of developers, development companies who they say, we want to do a project for Overpass, and I think, well, okay, I do have this one project. And then the first thing they say is, okay, send me requirements, I'll do it. And that's the end of the conversation, right? And have you ever written down requirements? I mean, of course you have, but if you have to give them to somebody else, you're thinking, what format do they expect these in? I mean, I've worked in lots of places where the requirements were, they could have been use cases, they could have been SWOT diagrams, they could have been flow charts, wireframes, what have you. So it's really hard for somebody to sit down. It's like giving them a homework assignment. So one of the reasons why we get a lot of jobs, or I get a lot of jobs, is that I sit down with people and discuss things with them, right? And a lot of times the requirements are very, very vague. And I think that being able to deal with very vague requirements is in direct correlation to your rate of pay. So if you look at the people who are paid the lowest, I guess like McDonald's, they're not paid the lowest, but it's pretty low. I worked at McDonald's for like 3 years as a teenager, but when you're working there, it's very tight requirements. There's no you don't have to interpret anything. They tell you exactly what to do. First day you work on fries. Somebody shows you how to do. Okay, you take this bag of fries, you shake it, you put it in the basket, put it in the oil, push the button. When it beeps after 30 seconds, you take it out, you shake it, you put it back in, and then it beeps again. You take it out, dump it, salt, put it into things. Right? That's the training. Right? And then you have then you have the higher paid jobs, which when I was a kid, I don't know if it's still the way. The higher. When I would think of highly paid jobs, I would think of doctors and lawyers, right? And lawyers, if the law was clear, right, we wouldn't even need lawyers. But because there's so much interpretation and if you walked in to see a lawyer, you'd have to explain your situation, you'd explain your requirements. You wouldn't say, oh, send me the legal precedents and I'll work on it. And a doctor, I would hate to be a doctor. Now that I'm growing up, I would think, they sit there in their office and they wonder when the next person's going to walk in, what ailment they're going to bring with them, or what symptoms, or what, doctor, I don't understand why my butt hurts, not another butt one, right? So, but doing the software requirements is, it's a lot of times, dealing with people, it's when you can sit down with them and they just they tell you what they need. That's, you know, those are kind of, they're the most fun projects to work on, but they're also, you know, they're the ways that you're able to get the job, you're able to do things that other people aren't. So I'm going to give you an example. This is kind of based on a lot of the stuff that we hear, but it's not one of those. So, you know, I'm trying not to give away anything. So I'm going to say, like, if a company calls me up and they do garbage collection, right? So like the bin men or the garbage men, which in the States, I miss the word garbage and I miss the word trash can. But okay, so the garbage men. So let's say somebody calls up and say, I oversee the country's garbage men, right? And you know, every so often they come across garbage cans or bins that are damaged, and I want them to be able to report what they are. But the problem is, you know, sometimes in different regions the requirements for damage is different. Sometimes it's more stringent. A lot of times it's open to the interpretation of the garbage men. So and our garbage men, they work different shifts, they have different locations, and and some of them we want them to have more tighter requirements than others. So I mean, is there any way we can have an app that does that? And while you're listening to them, one of the best things you could do afterwards for the clarity of both parties is to walk them through the strategy, right? So you say, okay, so one thing we could do is we can have, let's say, or you try to walk them through, the flow of how it would work with them using it. Try to send them through the story, because what they have is vague requirements. They don't even know if there's a solution available, and if you could think of one right away and walk them through it, then you're set. So you say, okay, so as an administrator, you would go into this admin site that we designed. So you would log in and you would see a list of different locations. You can add different locations, and you could set a set of criteria based on those locations. And then you go in and add users. So those, you'll add the users and their email address. And when you add that, an email will be triggered and it would go off to the bin men, the garbage men, and they would get an email that would have a username, a password, and a link to the App Store. They would click on it, download the app, they would log in, and they would see the requirements for their area. So based on their region, hey, hang on a second. Would it be based on the region or based on the user? Because if the user works in a certain region, we could just assign that region to him, or we could do it based on GPS coordinates. And they'll say, that's a good question, let's do it based on the user. So, okay, good. So they would see the requirements based on them. They would go through, and as they're going through their day, if they see a damaged garbage can or bin, they would just, they would trigger, they would, set a, they would record it on the phone, and, do you want them to take pictures of it? Yeah, that's a good idea. So they take a picture of the bin, and then they would save that, and because we might as well, we'll take the GPS coordinates, and then that would send it to the server. Hang on a second, are they always gonna have internet connection? No, some areas don't have very good internet. Okay, so if there's no internet connection, then it gets saved to the database, right? So then the next time they're in an internet connection, it syncs back to the database, and then you from your console, you can see all the damaged bins of the area grouped by region, and you can also see pictures of them. Is that the kind of thing you're looking for, right? And that's usually the point where they say, that's exactly what I want. And then that's where you have it, because at that point, you're not just, give me the requirements, right? You actually told them how it should work. You like walk them through the stage, and you're actually sharing the vision with them, right? And for those of you who do work with clients, once I started just doing this one little thing where I said, let's walk through the process. It could either be walking through the process of the administrator or the app owner, or it could be walking through the process of the app user. So they could, it could be a game, and you just say, and sometimes it's the same for everybody. It's like nothing, but it just shows that you understand what they're talking about. I say, okay, so they download the app, they open it up. It would have a little splash screen with your logo, and then it would be a front page, and it'll be a big button that says start, and it will have another little button there that says rate us, so that way you can get the ratings, right? They click on start, they see the levels or whatever, so you just walk them through the process, and then they could sort of see that. And then the next stage, then you could go through and start doing wireframes and just start doing that. And and then you are somebody who, rather than just be a coder, a code monkey, you're the person who's helping them to design a solution. And that's probably one of the most fun things about working with clients. We don't work with every client that comes to us. Sometimes it is walking them through that and thinking, would this be fun to work on? Would this be something that, you know, would be kind of cool to do? You know, like you may know, if you look at our website, we don't list any clients there, right? It's one of the things that, you know, I don't really like the idea of putting a list of clients. We've done apps for such. I know it would probably be better to get more clients, but it's a two-pronged thing. Like if I put our clients on there, then you would see, somebody could see what clients we have and maybe they could poach them. But at the same time, you know, they could see how few clients we have. So like if I just keep it ambiguous, right? Just don't even put them on there. Then I can say, you know, when I talk about our clients, that could be like, you know, there could be hundreds or they could be dozens, right? So it's like dozens, right? So anyway, that's it for today. It's a little bit rambly today. You know, I do think that, you know, if you ever feel like you don't understand what's going on and the requirements are too ambiguous, that's one of the reasons why we are good at what we do. That's the reason why you're good at what you do, right? Because you could just hire any code monkey to do something if you knew the exact requirements. Like just like the guy on the fries at McDonald's, right? If you could tell somebody exactly what to do, then you could get the cheapest person possible. But if you need somebody who has that experience, who can walk through the vision with you, then you pay a lot more for it. Anyway, that's it for today. I will talk to you guys next week.